Hello there, and welcome to episode 3 of the RedShark interview podcast, where we dive deep into the people, stories, and tech shaping the creative industries. I'm your host, Chris Wells, and today I'm talking to Shamir, the co-founder of Eddy AI, which is the new AI-powered software for filmmakers, editors, and content creators. Now, Shamir has had a remarkable and varied past. Just to name a few bits in no particular order: he's done a master's at Harvard, he worked at the BBC, was a product manager at Meta, he also co-founded Simon Says, the transcription tool, as well as co-founding Eddy AI, which is the main crux of our conversation today. Now, this isn't a generative AI that creates images or anything like that. This is more something that you can input in your video files, and then you can talk through with the AI to work out that first draft of an edit, which you can then put into the video editing software of your choice. And in my limited use, it actually does it all really quite well. This conversation was recorded a few weeks ago online, and so, without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on, Shamir. This is awesome. So I was just wondering, for the audience at home, if you could describe, because I think you can do it better justice than I can, what is HeyEddy.ai and how does it help film editors, video editors?
Yeah, Eddy is your AI assistant video editor for video professionals. Video professionals, I find, have like this zone of genius is oftentimes in the creative storytelling. And then there's all this tedious, painful parts of video editing that no one enjoys. And that's for Eddy. And Eddy's really there to liberate the video professional. And so it looks something akin to like a ChatGPT for video editing. It's prompt based. You import your footage, you give Eddy a story, and Eddy cuts it together. And it niftily integrates with your NLEs. And so you do the rough cut in Eddy, one click, it's in Resolve, Premiere, FCP, where you can then go add B-roll, color, title, and complete the edit. But edit really saves like days of time, come down to minutes. And I think it's really, really powerful for the video professional.
How did you know and identify the pain points that video editors would face that you thought HeyEddy could kind of come and approach?
I faced it myself. It was actually, the company part is a ruse here. I'm actually just like building this for me. I started my career at the BBC in London, in documentaries, spent a lot of time in parts of the world like Pakistan and parts of the Arab world and Afghanistan and some parts of Africa, and so like recording interviews out there, post-production teams back in London, thinking about how to transcribe foreign language interviews, get it translated to English, to think about notes to send to the post team. I wished I could do the edit quickly, myself on my own laptop back then. And that's really what I think Eddy really would do, is like if I had Eddy, man, I think I could like get through stories faster, get to the way I, think about videos is I love the storytelling component. And so the parts of the video editing that I don't love is like the scrubbing, trying to find the key sound bites, identify interesting sound bites, grouping sound bites together across interviewees on topics. Eddy does all that. Eddy logs B-roll. No one aspired to be logging B-roll in their life. We love to tell stories. And so Eddy like does all those types of things. And so like, I find that, now you have more time to focus on the creative storytelling, to make the video better, to make more videos. And so that's really, this is all just a way for me to like build that dream product that I once upon a time wished I had. One of the big things is like Eddy now runs locally on Macs and PCs. But even when we launched version 1, which was web-based, Eddy understood all that metadata that was critical to video professionals. Pro codecs, resolution, start time code, insanely important. Frame rates, drop frame, non-drop frame, fractional frame rates, incredibly important. Without that, you have no project. It's broken. So it all starts on ingest, being able to like not even have to worry about it, not even having to think about it, bringing your footage into Eddy. Eddy cuts it together at your behest with your prompts, and then you seamlessly export to your NLE, and everything The expectation is, and it's rightly so, that everything should seamlessly round trip, and it does with Eddie.
And how much of a challenge was that in development, creating something that does everything, but then also kind of then gives you an extra kind of then makes it open again, as opposed to kind of taking a file, chopping it up, and then having its own kind
I
of thing. Like,
never in my life dreamed that I would be spending so much time learning about fractional frame rates, 2997, the difference between 2997 non-drop frame versus drop frame. Oh, like,
yeah,
why did I have to learn all this? I like studying XML
yes.
interchange formats. Oh my goodness, it was pretty hard. But I've had some experience in this area building tech products for video professionals, such as what Simon Says, and so I just really really care about the space. And so when you're like really interested in this, like even though it is a lot of, let's call it, time, it's really interesting too, and it's also a lens into the history of video. Like when you think about 2997, there's a very particular reason why this was born once upon a time in broadcast to make sure audio and video is synced. And so, yes, it's kind of seems, if you were born yesterday, like literally just like one day ago, it's nonsensical. But, it's kind of interesting too to consider that all of us in video who are video professionals are really standing on the shoulders of giants, of many people who've come before us over the last 100 plus years, from the birth of video storytelling, small black and white moving images, to like where we are today with incredible, powerful cameras, not only like ones you can purchase, but like the phones in our pockets have multiple incredible cameras on them, powerful audio, video editing software on them, like how video storytelling is now more and more accessible to everyone. And, for me, that's a really key driving point, which is I believe that video is the most powerful, most evocative medium there is. And what we really need are more people telling their stories, not less. And where we can really assist is in being able to democratize the really kind of difficult parts of like a lot of the process. In my case, I'm focusing on post production to really allow more people, if they are liberated on some of the kind of painful parts of video editing, they're able to then focus more on the things that they care about. So more people can tell stories. I'm grateful to a lot of people who came before us, to make this industry what it is today.
And that's what's so interesting, because like, yeah, if you being able to process and deal with the kind of sheer variety of video
Yeah.
formats,
Yeah.
was that important from the start to kind of have not just professional codecs, but also, like HEVC and kind of things that, people can, film from four angles on a mobile phone and chuck it in. How
Yeah. Absolutely.
important was it to kind of be able to have that access for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, our aspiration is like you can just put anything into Eddie. You can communicate what it is that you're looking to, what story you want out of it, and it just works. That's our aspiration. Is that you don't have to worry about this kind of like friction, let's call it. Like you shouldn't have to worry, right? Like literally, like that's like annoying stuff. Like software is great for that. Like
Yeah.
computers are great for that. Like would rely on an assistant to just like do that, so you can focus on kind of the more higher order work. That's the same expectation I want you to have of Eddie. And that's the same sort of standard that I want us as Eddie to get to. That you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about any of that.
Yeah, and V2 came out recently, didn't it? So the how much, even from the early start to now, did like feedback kind of go through that process? Because like the thing that I
Yeah,
have discovered is everyone edits differently. They're very different
yeah.
workflows or very different ideas about like an edit. So how do you kind of, yeah, take on that feedback, know what feedback to take, and kind of reconcile those differences to kind of create something that is able to be used by everyone?
First of all, I am just like so grateful that like we have a product that people are using, that people can like go and yell at me about. You know what I mean? Like the
Mm,
worst would be like you put a product out there and it's just crickets. So
yeah,
I always tell like entrepreneurs, if you got feedback coming, positive or negative, it's a great thing. Like someone's using it and they care enough
yeah,
that they're like, hey, I'm going to write in, I'm going to message the founders and the team, and they're going to tell you what they dislike and how to make it better. So first and foremost, I am like, wow, it's so awesome that I feel like blessed to be living in a time and age, and now to like have an idea and be able to like birth that idea and put it out into the world, and like people can go and react to that, and then give me a laundry list of things to fix. So you know, I took on a lot of feedback. So I'll tell you, like, a lot of positive stuff. I think that our mission really deeply struck a chord. The amount of users who signed up, the amount of people who joined, who played with Eddie, who started using Eddie in their workflow, like yeah, I felt, it surpassed all my expectations. The big thing I learned was that the open ended prompt box was too broad, that it was too open ended. And so people, all of us have grown up kind of now accustomed to a Google like world where you type in like a bunch of fragmented words like best restaurant NYC. The equivalent in Eddie would be edit great story, right? This edit great story. Like that's what people would put into the prompt box. And it was so open ended and so subjective. And it was leading to, it was actually a disservice. It was leading to sometimes really great spot on results. And sometimes, and a lot of times, like not really great because you weren't like what Eddie's interpretation of a great story could be very different. Even if you asked five video professionals looking at the same footage,
Yeah.
what would be a great story, you'd still get five different stories out of it. And so there's no way that like an AI would be able to do that. And so one of the most major changes we made since version 1 is we launched now a new mode called rough cut mode. And rough cut mode tries to align with you on the framework of the story. It provides a suggestion of what a framework could be for the story. You can iterate on that. You suggest how long the edit you want, the duration of the edit, and it goes with you chapter by chapter crafting that story. And it leads to significantly better results. So it was an interesting trade off that I had to make is that no longer can you just put in one prompt and then 30 seconds later get back and edit. What you had to do is you had to now go through a sequence of a few questions. So we're adding kind of deliberately adding some friction into the product, but you now will get a significantly higher probability. There's now a significantly higher probability of getting the exact story, a really great story that the user had in mind, that the user defines as a great story. You'll now get that with Eddie.
Is there any other specific pieces of feedback that you got that really kind of influenced, kind of made you venture off from your initial vision to kind of the way that Eddie is now?
In terms of the vision, no, deeply affirmed. Deeply, deeply affirmed
Great.
that our goal, like we believe that humans, the genius of humans, is uniquely situated in the creative realm. We want you to tap into your genius zone. And what we can do is give you more brain cycles, more time in that zone. I continue to believe like that is the right vision. I believe that that vision resonates. And I felt that from the many, many, many users who came in version 1, we felt even more conviction around that vision.
Are there any surprising use cases you've seen from the way that people have been utilizing it that you didn't expect in the first time, in the first?
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess I didn't realize the breadth of use cases, but
Yeah.
it's video and people, video continues to explode. People love it as a medium of communications. I was focused a lot on like these interview based
Yeah.
edits, soundbite from him, soundbite from her, cutting soundbites together cohesively, creating like a 5-10 minute edit out of it. So I was focused, Eddie version 1, even version 2, very much on that use case. But people have been pulling Eddie into like all sorts of realms, which has been really, really interesting, in the world of scripted, in the world of podcasts, where now you're trying to take long form, cut multicam together in podcasts. People are cutting Zoom recordings there. They're recording Zoom recordings with their team. They want to, um, uh, either create a summary of it or create some clips for social media. Wedding videos, that's been a challenge because it's like not dialogue based or voice based
Yeah.
particularly, and so a lot of wedding videographers came. I feel like that's a untapped market that I need to like go and explore a little bit. So the wedding videos probably were the most surprising out of it all.
Wow, no, that definitely is. Yeah, because that was one of the things that really surprised me is that when you open up Eddie, it's got like,
Yeah,
especially in Eddie version 1 as well, I remember how friendly the AI was.
yeah,
Like more than any other kind of chat
yeah,
system that I'd seen, it was just like, "Hey champ, let's get a good video going for you."
yeah.
He goes, "What do you
Totally,
think of this?"
totally.
And what influenced that as a decision for, for what is quite a serious, inverted comma, serious product of, I'm going to edit here you go, cut this out, do that, because also I imagine, in fact, I've met editors like this who, when they have assistants or things, are like, right, you're going to list this, do this, go. And they're very serious because they're very focused on the job. And what I kind of liked about Eddie, no, like I could never be, I always
Yeah,
felt kind of more responsible for it because of how friendly and almost chipper the AI was. And I've noticed it's kind of toned down in version 2. It's still there, but it's
yeah.
a lot less like, hey, champ, cool sport. So what was it that influenced that kind of approach
I
of having the kind of, yeah, the natural language process be very kind of casual and
yeah.
kind?
I think I was influenced by some of the editors I've worked with in the past who, yeah, they sort of have insanely talented and insanely creative, but like r- resistance to the establishment. And I
Yeah.
think I sort of resonate with that, and I feel that, and I think that creativity has no stereotype. I think like
Yes.
I continue to meet people like all walks of life. I now have children myself, and I see like how their friends and them, and like just like creativity like is is there in each human innately, and maybe over time we like push it down in society and we try to like kind of push it like away, and I think that it's important to make sure you have this freedom and make sure you yourself like don't capitulate at the behest of society, and not take life so seriously too in many ways. And so Eddie is like, listen, this is who I am, and I am an AI, and we can also have fun, and we can also have some like casualness, and the job to be done is very seriously. I'm going to go do that with seriousness. But all the other stuff around it, let's have fun. Let's have a little bit of laugh. Let me add a little bit of entertainment to this process as well. And so that's really, I think, where we were coming to it from.
Yeah, I noticed in quite a few, like your announcement video, the multicam announcement video you did. I noticed they were kind of that tone as well. Is that
Yeah.
the way you run Eddie AI as a business? Like very, not that kind of very like friendly, but also like, yeah, creative and like focused on getting a good job done.
Yeah. I would say that similar. I would say like we take work very, very, very seriously. Like our vision and the mission that we are on, we take it very, very seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously.
Yeah,
I think that's an important distinction here. Like, we really
definitely.
believe in helping more people tell more and better stories. We feel a deep conviction to that, and we are resolute on that path to realizing that vision. But we should also have a laugh. We should also like gonna make mistakes. We are also gonna, we're also a team, and we need to be humble and also know that this journey is going to be long and hard. It's going to take a long time, maybe decades.
So, okay, let's say it's been a decade. We're
Hmm.
having our new RedShark meeting right now. Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
Shamir, it's been
yeah,
years. Okay, where
yeah,
do you see any AI in? Let's say 5. Let's say 2 years. Let's say
yeah,
1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Where do you see it? How do you see it being used?
yeah. In some ways, like 10 years is easier than like the one,
Yeah,
2 years. And so I'll start there. The 10 years continues to be probably where you can see Eddie's already started, right? It's like even more deeply your assistant. And so what does an assistant mean is like, in this case, we want the assistant to get to know you over time. And so like this is Chris's kind of roster of clients. And client one has a certain tone, has a brand, a certain style. And so Chris always edits, like for client one, say once a quarter. And so Eddie should know that. And that client has a particular, even like output. They have a particular output. Let's call it a quarterly event, And so like should know that you wouldn't give an assistant the same instructions every quarter. You'd be like, hey, we did this last quarter, or we do this on a monthly basis. Like you already know what the deal is here. You already know that client, what they like. And so Eddie should just already preemptively be able to organize that project, be able to set you up for success, and then be able to get you closer and closer to like the rough cut, the desired rough cut that you want. And so to be able to do that, understand both you as the video professional and then your clients, so it understands that. And again, like a human assistant would be able to like really move you further along the process so you can come in to it where you're most value added. So a really, really powerful assistant. That's really what we're looking to get to. That I would say is like the big like tenure. And then, how it differs from like where we're kind of getting to now is like, we're very much focused on a particular type of video edits, which are these like interview based talking head videos. We want to get to, being able to support a broader range of video storytelling. So we spent some time in podcasts. I'm excited about like being able to do more work with podcast edits. Yeah, maybe wedding videos 10 years out. So, I would say like it's a really, really powerful assistant is like the 10-year dream. And I think in the next like 1-2 years, what we're really going deeper on is it'd be incredible to like, be able to like, we're logging B-roll these days. What if you could
Mm.
start adding B-roll into the rough cut? That'd be incredible. Not only do we like now organize B-roll like with rich, detailed description, Eddie analyzes your B-roll clips, doesn't just do some basic object detection. Literally isn't saying like sun, beach, man. It's like middle-aged man running along the beach at sunset. It's like medium shot. It like defines the shot type. It organizes and groups these B rolls in logical categories. But what if you could start, placing B roll on the edit? So I think that's some of the things that we're thinking about. But also like, yeah, there's probably a lot more we can do in terms of different story types. Events come up quite a lot. You were asking us like, hey, I like record events. Honestly, what would be amazing is like be able to edit as the event is being recorded. So instead of like doing the edit after the fact, taking the drives, SD cards, ingesting, and the edit taking a couple of days. What if we could, stream the event recording and Eddie could be able to edit live? That'd be really cool. So those
Yeah.
are some of the things that we're thinking about over the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of like to imagine. I always love the kind of workflows of like sports photographers where
Hmm.
they take the photos. It's connected via either Ethernet or Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
and as they're taking the photo, it gets shot over to an editor who's already editing it. So yeah, having a kind of
amazing.
video production assistant that would literally be able to, yeah,
Yeah,
kind of watch and go, right, I've got the story of everything going on. You almost
totally.
like want something like during the interview to be
Yeah,
like, okay, I've noticed you've talked about this area, maybe about this area more, because that's what
totally.
I'm doing right now during
Yeah.
this podcast. So
What we need though, what we need is an open standard for how cameras talk to cloud devices. That's what we really need, actually. One of the bottlenecks in our industry, bottlenecks for innovation, is we don't have a true open standard that could be built upon.
mm,
There's this RTMP, some like streaming, but they aren't like in the fidelity, the quality fidelity that a video professional needs, and especially for an output. Sure, if you're streaming it on Facebook, it suffices. You're doing a live stream, sure. But what we really need is an open standard that supports the way cameras, cloud, systems like Eddie are interconnected.
that's and is that something that you see could potentially be happening with all these new kinds of products and systems coming out, where like it is becoming more, everything is becoming more interconnected?
I would love. I mean, I would say like that's for me one of the limiters, and I would love there to be a group of industry folks, and we're like, hey, let's get together, let's define this open standard. One of the things that I've seen in my journey as well. Like I look at a standard like MP4. These like open standards that just like yeah have allowed video to flourish
Yeah.
without I mean, imagine if some of these were like proprietary, right? And there's a whole bunch of like nuance and layers to this. But imagine if it'd be like difficult to I don't believe the explosion of video would have happened if it was controlled by a bunch of gatekeepers and you had to pay a toll every time you streamed a video or created a video. Imagine paying like a penny. That would have been a huge limiter. And
Yeah, no.
so, I think that the same could happen if we had more, if we know that this is where the world is going towards, that devices will be more and more interconnected, that the internet will become faster and more available, then it's only natural that we want devices like DSLRs and cameras to be able to connect to post production systems. And so, like a system like that, yeah, it'd be great to at some point work with a bunch of industry folks and be able to like start, yeah, create something like this.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what happened with audio, wasn't it? Was the
Hmm.
MP3? The amount
Hmm.
I remember, because even Apple were like the last holdouts because it was
Hmm.
M4A, was what I
Yep.
remember, and just getting that to play on anything was
Oh,
that wasn't an Apple was a funny
absolutely.
thing. And yeah, I'm completely with you on the kind of openness
Yeah.
required, to kind of just of those systems to kind of talk to each other, because like
Yeah. I mean, just like even take this one step further. I mean, we are, for example, with like Adobe Premiere. So Eddie is not trying to be another video editing software.
yeah,
Eddie is trying to be an assistant. So Eddie connects to all the video editing software. But even like the way in which it connects to Adobe using XML, a standard from decades ago, it
mm,
predates multicam. We hack XML to support multicam, and it works really, I think, pretty well. Like imagine if there was a natural system in which Eddie could interoperate with Premiere or Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve or Avid, and right now the interoperability is through some of these like, in the case of XML, multi-decade old, outdated
yeah,
timeline formats, right? But if you could even like, yeah, Eddie could like automatically start helping, someone in Eddie said, hey, this is the tone and style for the color grade I'm looking at. Eddie could start operating in Premiere, as an example, if there was a kind of standard or way in which to communicate between each other. That'd be pretty cool.
I see that, because XMLs don't like transitions or anything, do they? If I
You're
remember
right,
correctly.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly all those challenges.
What other kind of bottlenecks have you kind of hit creating Eddie AI, aside from the kinds of like, yeah, closed systems?
Honestly, it's been all like our own challenges with like GPUs. I think this the usage has and I say this with a ton of gratitude, has surpassed our expectations. Keeping servers up and humming and running, being able to process the AI requests. Imagine, these are huge, large file sizes, large quantity of files. These are video professionals, and so it's not just just like one B roll or three B rolls. It's like 200 B rolls. It's like,
Yeah.
gigs and gigs per angle. And so there's like a lot of complex situations. And so, but being able to handle that, process that, it's definitely been, a challenge, but those are like fun problems in some ways as well. I don't know if my engineering team feels the same way, but for me, it's like, yeah, we're in this position where, users are digging what we've built. And now, yeah, we need to make sure that, we can respond and keep the uptime high. And so, being able to like scale up our server capacity and processing of the footage and being able to handle the AI requests adeptly, that's been definitely a challenge. But I think we're getting there.
So I suppose as we come to the end of this now, this is, I'm sure, a question you get a lot as it comes up towards AI and everything else. So what kind of ethical considerations guide your development for the use of AI in this kind of work?
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
So kind of like obviously a lot of there's the way that the AI models are built is making sure that they're coming from kind of ethical sources and not kind of just laundered data through multiple other companies. And so, like, what kind of considerations do you have? Because I know for a fact quite a few video editors don't touch anything that even have AI on the risk of that. So, what kind of ways do you have to kind of reassure those creatives?
That's fair. This is a service for video professionals. It's your footage and yours alone. We do not train on it, and that's like really, really important. Even from the perspective of their clients, they want that assurance that it is their client's footage, and they also own the edits that come out of Eddie. We also don't take any rights on that. So, I mean, that's like standard and par for the course. I also find that a lot of these other kind of questions can be overblown in many ways. And I would say that sometimes they are coming from a place of a fear of the unknown. And what I mean by that is, I think AI in creative areas seem very scary for a lot of people. And I think it is because it seems like, some people are like, oh, is this going to replace me? Right. And I think like that's probably the kind of root fear. And then it kind of manifests in different ways or just kind of different but I think that's like the core is like that. And my guidance really is that um, I think that it's going to be very foreseeable in the future that AI is even more tightly wound within production, post production, in all areas of creative, in all areas of work. This is a significant and seismic change in the history of computing. It's already exploded. Like you can already see what ChatGPT has revolutionized. Like even just like the revolution of the opening of the mind of like, wow, this is even possible. We are still just getting started. And my encouragement is that play with it, you know, use it. Find ways in which you can use it to your advantage, to write a treatment better, to do kind of a first pass, to give you, to spar with it, to get you ideas, to debate ideas with it, like just even to open your mind so you can write better, write a better pitch, proposal, just even like in those areas. Obviously, in Eddie, to get a storyline, to try an alternative storyline, to try another story, find which one, different story frameworks. Those are things that were not possible. So not only can it help you, it can do things that were previously not possible unless you had a big budget, which you can try three different versions of an edit, in seconds, in minutes, right? You can try this version, that version, that version. And previously, you wouldn't be able to because of the expensive cost of editing. And so I would really encourage um, people that this is going to unequivocally happen. This meaning AI permeating every facet of society. And I would really encourage people to find the way in which it can help you, that you make it work for you. And yeah, and start playing with it. I think just having fun with it, just like giving it a chance. That's really what I would encourage.
No, thank you, Shamir. That's brilliant. And thank you so much for coming on today. Is there anything else you want to share with the people at home that they might need to know or want to know or anything
Yeah, my
else?
pleasure. No, it was really, really, really fun. If you want to download Eddie, Eddie's now for Macs and Windows. It's on uh, www.hey, Eddie, EDDIE .ai, heyeddie.ai. Thanks for having me. Really, really had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you. And that was my chat with Shamir. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll definitely have him on again soon because he has clearly been involved in so much stuff over the years. There's just so much more I'd love to pick at his brain at, but today it was just about Eddie AI. Maybe one day. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of the RedShark Interview Podcast. Take care.